Thank you. You can probably tell that I'm already nervous, and public speaking is definitely not my gift, but I told myself, I think probably in my 20s when I learned so much from other photographers that would share, that I always said that if anyone asked me to do anything photo related, that I would say yes. So I try to tell myself I know I'm in a room of friends, and so and I'm sure that you'll be looking at the screen and not me, and I'll try to get through. So thank you for bearing with my nerves. Basically I wanted to talk a little bit about just changing maybe how when you go to an assignment. I lead, I guess, by curiosity. I love going into a situation where I've maybe been assigned something and then seeing, and really like Sarah, I don't know if Sarah's in the room, but Sarah, the blog post, really what she is doing with that story, that's really what I want to talk about, is how I just generally look for the unexpected narrative and the story. So I'll start with saying that, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 160 million workers. Only 293 are employed in the photography industry, and so it's like less than 1.8%. And what I guess, and I've heard it a lot, is that so what I say is like, we're unicorns. We're like this special. We're given this gift, and it's rare. And I'm just so fortunate to do what I love to do so much. And so I've heard it said a lot of different ways from the speakers in the breakout sessions that we're just we have the best job, and to be able to share how we see, and we see differently. So yeah, I just want to say that I think what we do is just extra special. I'm sure like a lot of you probably remember the one photo that just you either inspired you, or maybe made you feel curious, or just something spoke to you that maybe you said you wanted to do that. I'm sure everybody has that moment in some way. And so this photo, and this is the only copy of the photo, I don't know if anyone remembers this photo. Okay. And I saw it, I think, in National Geographic. My grandparents subscribed to National Geographic, and it's by Louis Sejoyas. I don't know who. I was 11, so I looked up the year that I saw it was published, because I remember, and I don't know, maybe that's like when I started wearing deodorant or something, and I thought it was intriguing. I don't really know, but I was 11 when I saw this photo, and I just wanted to be like, wow, what are they doing? I guess our jobs, I always think, I'm not very tech savvy, I'm not a gear person, I always think of photography for me is that like we get to be sociologists, detectives, scientists. I don't think there's a profession that you really get to immerse yourself in other people's lives. And I was a super shy kid, and I think my mom just saw it as a tool to help me kind of relate to other people, and she was right. So this is the photo that kind of sent me on this, I don't know, just the curiosity of this photo made me curious. So I also feel like these talks are really great if you can give practical. So this is like, I've been at Grand Valley less than 5 years, and I will say one of the first things, excuse my messy desktop, but one of the first folders I put on my desktop when I started there, and really wherever I have worked at the newspaper, is it's story leads. And so I take photos with my cell phone. I find links to something that I think maybe we could, expand on it. And so this is something that always lives on my desktop, and I put stuff in there all the time, and I sometimes forget about them, and then when I kind of feel like I'm in a rut or I have some free time, I go back and revisit that. I know that I've forgotten what I've put in that folder, so to me it's like if I just kept a cell phone photo on my phone, it would get lost in my busyness, And so this is, I think, really important. Like, we can all do that. I'm sure like all of you have come up with 1,000 ideas already from the symposium. And so maybe like you could do this today and just think about how you could maybe start putting your ideas or things that you could start to do when you go back home. So, so I'm just going to give some like examples of how, like the example of what I'm trying to show is that finding more. So this was, we had a brand new police dog that we never had a police dog. This is the first one. And I remember going to a staff meeting and pitching that, you know, I don't remember where I saw it. I don't know if it was on Grand Valley Police Department's like Instagram page, or I'm not really sure where I originally saw the nugget of information that we were going to have a new dog. So I pitched that, and I remember they said, "Oh yeah, we're doing that story. It's, you know, going to run soon or whatever." And that was the story. Is this, you know, selfie that she sent from the training, and so I just said, can I follow the dog when it comes back? And so I think this, you know, was the intention, is just to kind of introduce the dog. And so I really wanted to kind of tell the story of this new dog on campus. And so basically we did, and I'm so grateful, like, you know, they could have, I want to say in all these instances, you know, I got a yes. Well, there are a few where it didn't quite work out, and I showed those as well. But that I'm really grateful for, you know, people that said, yes, you know, why don't you do that? So I followed the day that the officer and the dog Coda came home from training. And maybe this is, you know, a couple years old, so maybe you've all have seen this exposure story. I just wanted to say, so we followed the day the dog came, and she let me in, this officer, Sietsma, let me into her home. And then I followed like the training, and I didn't have a ton of time. They did say, well, we want to like show this story on the first home football game, because really this was a bomb sniffing dog, so it was really like that was its job. It's not like a police dog that helps like, so there was like an end goal. So I'm just going to scroll through really fast to say that what could have just been that selfie photo lent itself to, like, you know, I feel like a really nice, even with a short time frame, that I was really excited. And then, you know, the last day, you know, I went back to their homes. So then I want to say that this, the captain sent me this email, and it's not, it's not about, you know, he liked the essay or whatever, but I love that, you know, he just said, we never do a good job capturing, like, and this came from not a visual person, this came from the police, you know, the captain, to say that we don't do a good job capturing our days at work, and it helps highlight, you know, so I was like, yes, that's what, like, I love to tell the story, but I felt like that's the point, that we, that someone that's not a visual person really appreciated the outcome of that. And then I want to say that the best part is that we now, this officer, Coda and Kelsey, left the department, and then they get to take the dog. So now we have a brand new police dog, and with a new officer. So just last week, they contacted us and was like, you're gonna follow our new dog. And so I think, like, for me, like, that was a total win, not just because I got to, you know, do a story that I love and it fulfilled my soul a little bit, but that it was so meaningful that is now the expectation. And I guess that's the point of, like, most of my talk, is that just trying to sway people's minds by just doing good work. And it's what work we want to do anyway. So if you can get one yes, I think those will turn into like multiple yeses, I hope. And so I'm just going to give a couple other examples. So this is a President Emeritus. It was shot probably after I'd been at Grand Valley like 3 weeks, and he just had his hands. Yay! Oh my gosh, thank you.
Living life large.
And he came into the office probably, I don't know, maybe a year later, asking for some photos of some things, and I said, do you know President Lubbers? I shot this photo. It's really strange. It's just your hands, but I really, I just love it so much. And he looked at it, and he said, you know, I feel like if you looked at those photos of my hands, you would tell that I was a compassionate person. And so it made me think, like, hands are really expressive, and so I started thinking, like, I love photographing hands for some weird reason, but it looked like everyone on our team loved to photograph hands. So like I just started a rabbit hole and so I just, without doing any other work, we just compiled these hands photos and what they say about our university. It's like, it shows fun, it shows research, it shows compassion, it shows emotion, work, dance. I mean, it just really touches, this, like I said, we didn't shoot anything specifically for this. We just kind of went through the archive and put it together. And they, you know, again, I'm like grateful for a team of, you know, in our department that, you know, said, oh, this is really nice. And so the president was going to send it out like in the, like, welcoming campus, you know, and just say, here's what we do at Grand Valley, and was going to send this out. Well, then I forget exactly what happened. There was like some news or something, and they said it didn't feel appropriate. So I want to say that even though I was like, we put this together, I was really proud of that. It was all of our work together, and it showed our university in a lot of different ways just by one element, and it didn't get published. So that was disappointing, but I want to say that the president liked it so much that she went to the art. So we have this new faculty staff dining area, and if you can see, those are all our hands photos. They decorated the whole new place with our photos. So to me, it was like still a win. Our work is up in this like new space, and the essay didn't publish, but it still made an impact. And so I just feel like sometimes you work really hard to do something, and you're like, oh, that was for nothing, but I don't feel like it was. I really love to go in there and see our beautiful work, and so it was shown in a different way.
Is that a permanent display?
It is. Yeah, they actually said we're going to do the first, I think there are 9 or 11, 9 or 11 photos in this space. There's some like behind. And they said that they were going to rotate them out and print more. I don't think they haven't done that yet, but so they might, you know, take those 9 photos down. But that one photo that's wrapped around, it's like wrapped around this huge column. It's like so cool. So I thought that was really neat. But then the next slide is just kind of an example. I was going through for something else, and I thought, you know, 4th of July is coming up. Maybe we could do something for flags. So this was just in my brain last week, and I haven't even sent these photos, but I just started, you know, pulling photos together, and I'm like, and again, this is not all my work. This is just stuff I started finding in the archive that we have photographed of flags.
Yeah. Are you pulling these with like keywords, or are you just literally with your eyes?
Sometimes with keywords, and then, I mean, the one thing about keywords, sometimes I think that I don't remember all the photos I took, but I certainly have a better memory of what I took than everyone else took. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I remember I photographed some flags at that one event, and so I'll look for that event. So I think, I mean, if this is a testament to keyword your stuff, well, I think that's really important. So this would be easier. I think a lot of these are mine because I remembered photographing, but I just saw one photo and I was like, oh, we could do the thing with the flag. So I'm always kind of thinking of ways to repurpose your photos, and you don't have to photograph something like fresh and new. This was, he's a photographer, he runs like a really small, but he made this Facebook post, and you don't even have to read all of it. But I saw it. I'm Facebook friends with him. I knew him through journalism days. Don't know him that well, but I thought, gosh, that is such a great testament to our university. And I thought, what if I could just like bring this Facebook post alive somehow? And he talked about especially his young daughters, that to finish what you started. And again, that was really nice that I got a yes, but I did this whole thing. I followed his daughters and his family on this farm just to show that he went back. He was spurred to re-enroll after receiving that letter in the mail from our university, and now he has a degree. And so that was really nice. I spent just 2 days with him. It's not like super in-depth, but I felt like it was a nice way. And I heard from someone told me that the admissions department really loved that, and it was like really a great story to talk about kind of lifelong learners, and so that it's still really important to get your degree. So that was another little, I think, win. And then this is kind of convoluted, but follow me along because I really think it's important. So this was a story about when COVID happened. You know, I started right before COVID and like the shutdown and stuff, and so I was trying to think of ways to, I don't know, to pitch ideas or to still, you know, tell a story even though on campus was closing. And I thought to myself, well, somebody has to take care of the plants. You know, they're not just going to let them die. And so I asked if I could go to their greenhouse and just photograph them taking care of the greenhouse. But I just thought, well, maybe it'll cheer people up during COVID. They can't see campus. They can see these beautiful, there's like 2 people working in there. So again, really scratches the surface of like in-depth photography or anything. But I asked the greenhouse manager just this one question: what's your favorite flower in the greenhouse? And she said, oh, we have this corpse flower. And I had never heard of a corpse flower. I didn't really know. And she was like, yeah, it blooms, you know, every 7 to 10 years. And I said, gosh, when is it going to bloom next? And she's like, maybe next year, or I'm not sure. And I said, will you promise to keep me in touch? Keep in touch if it does. So she did email, or I even followed up, and I just thought I'd show the email. I just said, you know, just keep me in the loop, even if it's a year from now, like just trying to follow up. So really, I asked the question just for caption information, honestly, but then I thought, what, we have this corpse flower and it only blooms? So it did bloom the next year, and she remembered, so she did reach out. And we documented that, and it was during COVID, but you know, people still could wear masks and come through. This was like the campus was back open just with masks, but well, they don't have masks on. They must have pulled them off. I don't know, but so we covered it, and it was really amazing because 3,000 new people came through our university. They opened up the greenhouse. People came that had never been on our campus before. It was our videographer did a time lapse. Like I said, that went everywhere. I mean, it was on NPR, it was, so the video, our department won, you know, it's not about awards, but I mean, we won some PR awards for our coverage of that because it was creative tactics and how it got, I mean, what other thing can, like, you know, photo and video to attract, our coverage just attracted so many people to our campus. So our team won awards for that. And then because of our coverage, this is the weirdest thing. This thing blooms like 7 to 10 years, and for some reason it decided to bloom in 2 years, which was just last week. Yes, just last week it bloomed again, but it created so much traffic that they ended up taking it to a botanical garden nearby. And so, but then they knew to call us and say, hey, the flower's blooming again. And so it's like recycled itself. So I just didn't even know, and I don't know, maybe other people in our team knew that there was a corpse flower. I didn't, but I think just by asking the one question and then by moving through, that it created like this snowball of good visual storytelling that was really powerful, I think. This is what I want to say is, like, even if you have hear of an idea that that you think is great. I was on a Zoom call with our social media director about Black History Month, what events they were going to have for us to cover, and they mentioned this like cuts at the clock And we were like, what are the cuts at the clock? It's like this mobile barbershop that would come and park at the Carillon Tower. And so so the social media, I mean, we were on this Zoom call in our separate offices, and we basically almost like met in the hallway. We're like, we gotta tell that story. Well, she was on vacation, I had another assignment, and so, Amanda Pitts shot these, and I just so I guess it doesn't matter if you have like a great idea, and it wasn't my idea, it was just like we heard this idea, and if it's like, well, I can't cover it, or I'm not gonna be here to just share your ideas. If it's a great idea, it doesn't matter. Other teammates can shoot it, and it's some of my favorite work of Amanda's. I just love the storytelling of this, and so I just feel like if you have ideas, to just throw them out there for anybody to document. And then this, I'm just going to say that just a couple months ago, I got this email about this award, and I'm just showing this because I've received awards for my photography, but not what photography can do. And so I feel like I'm the most proud of this award that my photography at our sustainable agriculture farm, which I love. My minor was agriculture. So I just always like, any assignments there, I'll go. And so that that they recognize that the photography elevated their work, and I guess that's like super important too. Like it's not about maybe the composition or whatever, but that it can sway or change, and I really believe in the power of that. So I just got this a few months ago, and I think it might be my favorite award. I mean, it just is. I've never received an award for what your photography can do, I guess. So I thought I would just share that that your photography has power, I suppose. And then, and I also want to say too about why I love long-term projects. I think you can evaluate your work as you go. So sometimes if you can spend even just 2 days, if you feel like you come back and you can look at your work, and then you decide that, I need an overall or a wide shot or I need more moments, a scene setter. You can evaluate your work and improve it, and you build. I feel like it's more about connection. Like you build connection the first time, and then you go back and it's better the second time. And so I just wanted to mention that part. But this was. I was sent to this assignment to just photograph for our president's social media, the cutout at the fans one during COVID as well, that, we didn't have fans, but they had these cardboard cutouts and you could buy them for, to help the university. So they just said, go grab a photo of President Mandela. Well, I just thought that was so interesting. I mean, I know we had seen a lot of photos of this type of thing in the news, but I thought maybe we could turn that into a story about what a basketball game looks like during COVID times, just to document that. And so again, I pitched photographing, and this was just one game but that turned into a really nice, and again, it was just one game, but I tried to photograph all the ways that basketball looked different for us. And that was just, again, through what could have just been a boring photo for President Mandela's Instagram page. So, and then I also just want to say that, just always keeping an open mind to, this is out our office window in the hallway. So, and that just to kind of always, you probably see this view every day when you walk by, but just to keep an open mind, to just constantly look out your windows. And I'm sure all of you do that. I just think that we can get complacent, I guess, or bored with the same view, but how different it looks. This is the same sidewalk, the same view, just different season, different lens. And so just, I don't know, I guess I'm never bored and always hopeful to see something different in the everyday. This was the building dedication for this family donated a lot of money so that wrestling could come back, varsity wrestling. We had it as a club sport, but it came back as a varsity sport. And so we were sent there. We covered this as a team, and I think we did it really well. This was our assignment to show the ribbon cutting. Oh, that opened up the. Well, that's okay. This is fine. So the building. It'll be fine. I was going to show like the GV Next, the news site that showed our dedication work.
Okay.
But no, it's good because this was. Okay. Then I thought we did a great job showing the ribbon cutting, the revelry of this new building, the wrestling team was there, and I thought we did great. But I thought, why did this guy give this money? What's wrestling? We should show, the first night of wrestling. So that I think led to, this, just the first night that it came back. And to show the first night of the game and then getting ready and, the practice and the before game nerves. I felt like we did a great job covering the assignment, but then to just show this part of it too. I actually did say, maybe I could cover the whole season, and they're like, no, Kendra, just the first night's good. So I maybe sometimes get a little
Temper your enthusiasm.
Yes, I know. It's so this was just the first night to kind of show what wrestling was all about, and to kind of document that a little bit more. So the building dedication turned into just kind of the why did this.
Kendra,
Yeah.
how much time was there between the dedication and the start of the team? Because it feels like it happened overnight, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if the dedication was.
I mean, not specifically, was
I remember.
there like a year between? Or?
No, the dedication was, I remember it was right around my birthday, so it was like mid-September, and then the first night was November 1st. So,
interesting. Okay.
So
like behind the scenes, they had been building this team.
Yeah, I think they did, and we did cover one of the practices prior to the dedication so they could show the facility like being used. So there are a couple in the dedication link that's kind of just the more news, what ran. I think there are a couple wrestling practice photos. But just to kind of show, and I'll say just last week too, when I was photographing the new police dog, this, I think it's at the end, this gentleman, he was driving by in a golf cart and he goes, hey, and I was like, oh, hi, and he goes, the wrestler, and I go, oh, and I said, oh, you're the guy with the hands up, and he said, yeah, and he said, what'd you think about that? And I said, oh, it was so great hanging out with you, and I said, let me know if there's any interesting, like, I just can't help myself, and he goes, oh, I'll keep you in, and I said, are you still practicing? He goes, we practice year-round. I don't know, it's just like those good connections, so anyway, that was a great, I think, outcome of what could have just been a building dedication. And our athletics department, of course, they cover the news part of it too, but it was nice to kind of tell it in a storytelling way. So, all right, I'm clicking. I'm going to get the hang of this, I swear. Okay, so then we just showed you that part. And then this is a quick story about, we were going to do, again, just one portrait of, he is a film and video professor, and he's going to have a film in the Tribeca Film Festival. And so I looked up before I went, like, what's this film about? And it's something about the woods, and he kind of does some horror type film. And so I thought maybe I should take him to the ravines in our campus and take his portrait in the woods. And I was trying to think of how can I make it a little bit like his film. And so I asked him, I'm like, do you have any thoughts on where it would, be appropriate to take your portrait? He goes, maybe my office. I'm like, oh, your office? Like, that sounds awful. And he said, well, it's where I do all my writing for my film. And I said, well, can I come see your office? So I do try. I mean, like, we're all so busy, I know, but I thought I'll just pop over and see. And he said, in a second email, he said, it's kind of grungy in there with lots of props. And so I was like, well, that sounds cool. So then I went, and so this was his office, and it's not that great of a portrait. Like this, I should have had that lighting workshop like prior to this. That's also not a gift of mine, public speaking and lighting. But so I when I walked into his room or his office, I said, oh my gosh, your office is so interesting. I'm like, maybe I should do a project on other interesting offices. And he's like, oh, please do that. That would be so interesting. So then I think, just thinking out loud sometimes. So again, I'm like, feel so lucky to work at a place. I went back and I said, his office was so great. So I shot this more boring portrait that we could maybe just put for the Tribeca story, and can we save this portrait, and if I did a project with other faculty staff. And so they said, yeah, that sounds great. So I photographed this one, and then just last week, the color looks weird on that, but so I'm now doing this project on just faculty office spaces, which I think is super exciting. It is a little limiting because you're in this like little box, but maybe I learned some lighting stuff that will help me through this project, because I think I need that. And then this was, our creative team started doing these walks on our meeting around campus, which I absolutely love, where we maybe find nooks of good light and we'll take a picture of it. And someone else showed that in their talk about how they have, it was one of the BYU, Jaren, maybe like a whole Google Doc of like photos of cool places on campus. So we have started doing that actually, and we were just touring around this, and I photographed this. This is my what I would have put in the story lead little folder on my desktop, that just, so I remembered where I was as an indicator that, like, I looked out this window and I saw our green roof that I've never seen before, and I didn't know that people worked up there. I don't know why. I thought it just they put something on there, it was natural and it just grew or whatever. But I saw a garden hose. I'm like, oh, there's a hose up here, so somebody's got to water that. And so I reached out to facilities, and they said, oh yeah, and we have like 13 green roofs around campus, and they're great for sustainability, and they're pollinators. And I thought, that's a great story. Well, actually, I just thought it would be great for one photo, and our videographer said, I want to do a story about how it's great for the environment. So just from, I don't know, from the garden hose, it just goes down this rabbit hole. That's how I feel like I just self-diagnosed myself with ADD or something. Like, I just feel like that's how my brain works. But, and I already talked about that. So this is so exciting. I got this email this morning. I think it's exciting, but that this was a project I did a few years ago, a couple years ago, and from another department, and we did this like process of like, I don't know how we got in on that early, but we did, and I think they loved the outcome. So they were like, Kendra, I'm assuming you would want to grab some photos of the project along the way. I'm like, yes, I do. And then, keep it quiet. I'm like, so that just like, I feel like it built trust, and like that first project led to this next project. And I just guess that's what I want to say, is that like if you put in the little, and I know we're super busy, but I just feel like if you work a little harder to find these little nuggets of information to tell a story really well, that I think you don't have to be visual to see the power of photography. I think that touches everyone. And then I was just going to leave with this quote, because this is, I feel like that is me. I'm just passionately curious. So anybody have any questions or yes? Hi, Tyler.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for always the inspirational work. When I look at your stories, particularly like the one of the police dog, what I see is somebody who has like what I think is, and this is my terminology, like a perfect storytelling visual tempo. And what I mean by that is like such a fine balance of the back and forth between wider contextual shots down to the details. And I know we're not seeing everything you take. You need to select photo essay, but they really are like perfect tempo. So can you articulate when you're actually going about shooting a story, and maybe it's super intuitive about this at this time, but how are you achieving that? Are you going through any thought processes to yourself while you're working to try to do that? Because you're clearly really, really good at that.
Thank you. I would say that I'm not sure if I'm intuitive like while I'm shooting. I think that I am like chasing the moment and probably the light most of all. I do say that if I have the opportunity to come back to the office or home or wherever to look at my first take of the first day, to review like what am I missing, and evaluating it, I'll say, gosh, I'm like everything I shot with the same lens, or it's like all moments and I didn't show an establishing photo, or I'm like shooting everything at my 5.4. I need to get up high or low. Like I do evaluate. I don't think I do it very well in the moment. I think I'm just, kind of like ADD or like running around a little bit. So if you have the opportunity to kind of look at your work as you go, I think that's really critical. So then I'll go back the next time and say, all right, I need to shoot something like super tight, or I need to really show, like really pull back and show this whole environment. So I think that I do maybe a little bit of it in the moment, but not as much as I probably should. I will say that probably other than just connecting with people on a photo assignment, my very next favorite things to do is to put photo stories together in a narrative and editing them and trying to like think of transition photos. Transition photos are huge. Like if you're like shooting something outdoor and then you go inside, you need to get yourself there visually. And I think those are photos that I'm not good at thinking about. To me, they look boring. Like here's someone walking through a door maybe or whatever, but I think you have to have those. Yeah, so I think I do maybe a little bit of it, but it's mostly after. But I do love putting photos together, and it doesn't have to be in order of how you shot them. You can be their very last day of your 10th project, and that could be your opening photo of your project. So I am not joking when I say this. I like love to look at other people's work, and if you ever have a project, I would pull them in Photo Mechanic and move them around. Like that's what I do. I love doing that. So I love to do that. You can send me your photos. I would give you an edit. It wouldn't be, everybody has a different opinion, but Meredith?
So I think this one might be tricky.
Yeah.
So but I'm very curious. I think one of the things, I don't know if you did a lot of print product, where we got used to a tight edit.
Yes.
And now we have endless edit.
Yes.
And especially exposure seems to, I know when I'm putting stuff in there, I'm like, oh, I've got room. And I'm 400 pictures in, thinking, who's going to look at this?
Oh, that's a huge challenge of mine.
So I guess I'm kind of asking that of, especially with long form, do you put any restrictions or parameters around how much, like a space? And I share this also because I started limiting myself to about 40 photos in exposure because I don't want to put crap in, I don't want to do, but I would love your perspective on that.
I'll say, I have a photojournalism background where when you would enter a photo story, it's 12 photos. And I believe a good photo story can be told in 12 photos, and kind of a tighter edit is always better. And I find myself thinking like, there are more students will look at this. I want to get their faces in there more. But I know really visually it's better if it's tighter, and I am challenged by that. Like I think every one of those projects I showed probably should be hacked in half. So I do think you really have to think of photos that say the same thing, and even if you really love them both and they're shot differently, if they're really kind of saying the same thing, you should really get rid of them. So that's a great question, because I agree, like 12 photos would have been a big photo story for the newspaper, and then to be able to feel like you have unlimited space. I know my husband was in, television journalism. then their joke was like, just because you can be live on television shouldn't mean that you should be. So, you know, only if you have nuggets of information should you be live on television. It's kind of the same. Like if you have all the parameters, I don't think you should really think of a tight edit. It's always better. Kristen?
Kind of along the lines of that, so my question was going to be, do you work with a writer to write the text if it's going to be also a text-heavy photo essay? And then are you working with your team to kind of whittle down that edit and finalize your choices and get the copy together, or is it just all you?
No, I think it's a mixture. I mean, usually the words definitely are probably with a writer. If I've maybe pitched the idea or the story, sometimes we'll just pull in maybe what they wrote for the news story and we'll just drag it in there so there's some text. Sometimes they'll write a copy block. I have written a little bit and I do like a good caption, so I try to get good caption information. And the other part of your question you said about...
Are you working with your team to kind of
yes,
finalize your photo?
I definitely love other people to look at photos and have people narrow it down, so that's critical. I think having other people, because you do get connected to like your photos and your work, so I think that's important. Sometimes you think this photo's great and it's like, I love when someone can be honest and just say, I'm not getting that photo, I don't get it. And I'm like, okay, that's great, I need to hear that, so yeah. But
technical question?
Yeah.
I've been using exposure for a long time, and most recently it seems really finicky to me. So you'll complete a layout, and then you'll preview it, and you'll come back to it, or you'll even publish it, and the pictures are rearranged in terms of the layout. Have you had that nightmarish experience?
Yes, it is nightmarish. I don't know. It's like a weird little glitchy thing. I think sometimes it's like the way your screen, like if it's a larger, I'm not tech, I can't explain what that is, but you know, it's just, but I also think it just, they do rotate or something, and it's maddening because I really, what I have, do you use Photo Mechanic at all?
Yes.
So I have found it's better if you put them in the order that you think you want to see them in Photo Mechanic first, and then, so don't put them in there and then move them around in exposure, move them around in Photo Mechanic, and then import them in the order. And that has been...
You rename them?
I don't even know if I guess I would have renamed them. Yeah, or even if you click on them, even if you don't rename them, if you just like click on the first 5 and say, because what is it, like 9 photos in a cluster, I think. If you just click on the first 9 in that order and then drag them in, they'll be in that order, I found. So
Wow,
that's better.
Interesting. Okay, well, I haven't ever tried that,
So try that, because I don't know who told me, or maybe I just tried it. Oh my gosh, I'm just a mess. Okay.
So again, just want to say, kind of what everyone's talked about, the way you sequence is awesome. So next year, a photo essay sequencing edit.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'll prepare myself now for it mentally, because this is like super. But thanks, I love, and I think, does anyone know Chad Stevens? He was a photographer, photojournalist. He is like, I don't know what he does now, but I went to Western Kentucky with him, and then he was like a killer storyteller, and I think it was how he sequenced, I don't know, I just like watching him and how he would transition. I love that stuff. I don't think I'm great at it, but I love doing it, and I think it's important. So thank you for saying that. That's helpful.
In the world of, it seems like infinite number of platforms, are you publishing stories at anything besides exposure?
Well, recently, and I think Amanda Pitts mentioned, and I don't know where she heard about it. It may have been at a symposium, but it's, oh my gosh, I just had a blank of what it's called. Starts with an S. Our magazine is just now, it's called, starts with an S. What was that? No, I'll think of it. But so we started using that, and so we can use video more, and it's like really great, and that's really different. They asked all of us to play around in there. I will say that I think that's a game changer where we can have like these video clips, and it's kind of brought our magazine alive. So that's a new one, shorthand. It just came to me. So I think it's great. And our first, I think we've just now had 2 magazines that came out with using shorthand. I don't know in shorthand if there's a way to just have it where, 'cause sometimes it's like you swipe and then this photo morphs into this one, and it's great, but I also feel like I love the simplicity of just like a photo essay. So sometimes it's almost like a little too much for my taste on some stories. Like some it's great, and then others I'm like, this would have been better if I could just slowly like soak in the narrative of the story. So, but really we just have exposure, and then our GV Next, which there are some like a photo gallery, or they just embed photos, kind of a mini, but it's not as like exposure I love so much. So.
And you're the one laying out exposure, there's no...
Yeah, I mean, other like the Amanda's the cuts at the clock one. She did that one. So yeah, like if it's her, like if someone else on our team, if it was their story, they would lay it out. Sometimes like the hands, that was all our work, but I laid it out. You know, so but with help. I mean, we always like look at each other's stuff. So yeah, you're welcome.
I'm gonna interrupt, we gotta get to lunch.
Yes, no, I understand. Yes, thank you.